So this Shabbat has been designated by the National Council of Jewish Women as Repro Shabbat, a day on which we talk about reproductive rights from a Jewish perspective. Raise your hand if you knew that. All right. Good. As the organizers explain, as we begin... You forgot. So this is it's a refresher. Thank you. As we began to envision a collective Jewish movement for abortion justice, we knew how important it was both to have a time to learn what our tradition teaches about reproductive freedom and to come together as a whole Jewish community to talk about these issues, to break stigma and become inspired to take action. And so Repro Shabbat was born. Repro Shabbat was started in 2021, but gained new significance and urgency after Roe v. Wade was overturned in 2022. As an aside, my mother, who always has a way with words, initially thought it was called Repo Shabbat and was about repossessing our rights. So call it what you will. So what does Judaism teach us about reproductive rights and freedom? We'll start at the very beginning. As Genesis chapter 1 says, "And God created humans in God's image. In the image of God, God created them. Male and female, God created them. God blessed them, and God said to them, 'Be fertile and increase.'" The very first mitzvah in the Torah is the obligation to have children, and it is given as a blessing from God. Procreation in the Torah isn't just an obligation and isn't just a blessing, it's a profound need as well. The longing to have children is a theme that runs throughout the Bible. The patriarchs, and especially the matriarchs, are consumed by the desire to procreate. Abraham can't enjoy any of the blessings God has promised him, saying, "O eternal God, what can you give me, seeing that I shall die childless?" Women in the Bible will do anything. They beg and bargain and scheme in order to have children. To have a child, well, really to have a son, is the greatest achievement, the greatest reward for a woman in the Bible. Nevertheless, however much Judaism exalts reproduction, Jewish law is quite clear that it is not an obligation or value that supersedes everything else. A fetus is not a person. It is considered to be a part of the pregnant person's body up until the moment of birth. Therefore, when a pregnant person's life or health is in danger, she may, and in some cases must, terminate the pregnancy. Today, many authorities, even Orthodox authorities, extend the notion of pikuach nefesh, saving a life, to include the preservation of mental health, well-being, or even happiness of a woman, and therefore allow abortion for any number of reasons. Judaism has long acknowledged that women's reproduction is a complicated issue. The sages, for example, saw procreation as a man's obligation, but not a woman's. The Talmud offers several explanations for this ruling based on a close reading of Genesis, but the 19th century rabbi Meir Simcha Dvinsk shows great insight in his explanation of the obligation. He says, since pregnancy and birth involve a lot of pain for the mother, the Torah, whose ways are ways of pleasantness and peace, could not obligate a woman to endure such an ordeal. Even though having children was and still is widely seen as a woman's primary desire and primary purpose, Judaism also acknowledges that it is an ordeal that women should not be obligated to undergo. And there is ample evidence that when people are forced to remain pregnant against their will, there are dire consequences. Consider these statistics. Maternal death rates are 62% higher in states that ban or restrict abortion. And babies born in banned states are 30% more likely to die in their first month of life. Black and American Indian and Alaska Native women are about 3 times as likely to die in pregnancy, childbirth, or right after giving birth than white women, even though 84% of pregnancy-related deaths are preventable. Bans disproportionately impact BIPOC women and others, those struggling to make ends meet, young people, immigrants and trans men and some non-binary people. Shira Zemel, the co-director of the National Council of Jewish Women, writes very powerfully about the burden of pregnancy. She writes, "I have had 4 pregnancies. I have 2 children. 2 of my pregnancies ended in miscarriage, and the other 2 resulted in the greatest joys of my life. But all 4 were a burden, emotionally and physically, personally and professionally. I had every advantage and privilege one can have when experiencing pregnancy. I am a married, white, cisgender, heterosexual woman. I navigated the reproductive health system through 4 pregnancies in a 2-income family with employee-sponsored health care and amazing doctors. With all of that support and access, my pregnancies were still burdens. Being pregnant, trying to get pregnant, ending an unwanted pregnancy, giving birth, all of it will test you. Even those who experience pregnancy as a joy will face moments that ask more of them than they could ever have imagined themselves capable. We who create life are blessed and burdened by the imperatives of biology." Blessed and burdened. If ever there were an apt description, not only of pregnancy and giving birth, but of being a mother, that would be it. For yet another reason that reproductive freedom is essential is that being a mother is hard. Too hard to force upon someone who doesn't want to be one. Ironically, the society that teaches women that being a mother should be our highest priority and our proudest accomplishment is the same society that makes a mother's life so challenging. Too many women in this country don't have paid maternity leave, quality health care, or affordable child care. Many women who work full-time, earning less than their male counterparts, of course, still do the majority of the housework and parenting when we get home. And when, for example, there's a global pandemic and kids can't go to school, it is primarily the women who quit our jobs to stay with our children or who manage to keep our jobs while simultaneously caring for our children, driving ourselves to the brink of exhaustion and despair in the process. Women are told in ways large and small that our careers, our aspirations, our desires, and even our basic needs can and should be sacrificed for others, especially for our children. Being a mom is one of my greatest blessings, and one of my greatest burdens. The burden is bearable not only because I have plenty of help carrying it, but also because it is a burden that I chose to carry. Consider the famous command from Deuteronomy. Ubacharta b'chayim l'ma'an tichiyeh v'ata v'zarecha. Choose life, that you and your offspring may live. Choosing life, making choices, including the choice to bring new life into the world, making choices that preserve and enhance our own lives and the lives of future generations, is a human right and a Jewish obligation. May we work together to ensure that every person is given that choice. Shabbat Shalom. And happy Repro Shabbat.